Today we're looking at a toilet. If you have a home at some point, you're likely going to have issues with your toilet. And I got a call from this homeowner, and the complaint here is that water constantly rolls into the bowl. They've changed the flapper, and that hasn't resolved it, so we're going to take a look at it today. I believe they isolated water flow. They closed the valve that feels the reservoir up there. So if I open it, I'm sure you hear that. Yeah, so you see water flowing into it. Yeah. So that's an issue. Your water bill is definitely going to be quite high if this continues happening. So we're going to take a look at it today and see if we can figure out why. Shut the water off so we're not wasting water. And we'll go from here. So let me see if I can get a wider view. There we go. Take this off so we can see what's going on here. So there's water in the bowl. The float device is right here. That's what determines how high the water level gets before it shuts off. So the water is clearly in there. There's a new flapper that a homeowner, installed. And if you look in here, there's barely any water flow, right? You don't see as much water as we did before. So this indicates that it may not be the flap, because if it was, would have experienced continuous leaking. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to turn the water and see what happens if it fills up all the way. So looking at this, I can already see there's already an issue here. You may not be, let me see, you may not be able to see it well enough here. If you look at the water level, it's already at the level of that overflow pipe, but the fill valve is not detecting that because of the set level of the float, right? So the water is not shutting off. One thing we can try to do is decrease the water level at which the float gets to the top and shuts off the water flow into the tank. If you look here, let's see if I can zoom in there, right? You see the threads? It looks like you can screw in this entire float, right? If you think about it, the shorter this screw is, the higher you have to lift the float before it shuts it off. So if we undo this and make this longer, this part is going to be in water sooner to shut that off, right? So we're going to try that by rotating this to unscrew it. And if you see it there, let's see. All right, let's try there and see what happens. See where the water level is. I'm going to flush a little bit. Drain some. Alright, now that we're there, I will open the valve to get water to flow in. Alright, valve is open. Alright, that theory didn't bear any fruit. Let's try to make that a little longer. Fill valve is fairly old. That might be the issue also. looks like that's slowing it down, but there's no water draining in here. So the reason it's not a flat. So after all of the troubleshooting steps that we've done, we're gonna have to replace the fill valve, which is that right there. That's actually an old style fill valve. It's probably been here since this was installed. We're gonna put a newer one in there, and that should resolve the issue. So now we're gonna replace the whole valve. So what we'll do is shut the water so we're not wasting. Back down there, close that off, and I need to get like a little bucket, because once I take this off, the little water that's left in the tank is gonna drain on the floor. So we're gonna flush this to empty out the inventory in the tank. Before I take that out, I'll make sure I have a little reservoir in there to collect any residual water that's left. Then I'll put in the new fill valve. We'll connect everything and we'll see if that works. Or it should work. Now you may be wondering why you're looking at a step stool. Yeah, that's what this is. This is definitely not a bucket, like I said I'll be looking for. But you know, when you run out of options, you gotta get creative in your problem solving. So this, I'm gonna use to make a makeshift bucket. I couldn't find one anywhere around, so I'm gonna use this, put a trash bag in there, and there goes another DIY tip for you. All right, I need both hands for this. There we go, our bucket. So there we are. We have our makeshift bucket in place. First we're gonna flush. Now that we have that empty, to a certain level anyway, should be here. So most of the water is out. Just hold the handle down to drain as much as you can. You can only drain so much because the lower lip there, where the flap sits on, is a little bit elevated, so you can't go beyond that. We're gonna have to, right there, remove the base of that fill valve. So it screws onto, let me see if I can show you this. There we go, go all the way down here. That is what we have to take out, right? Remember, that's the water connection to the fill valve in there. Typically this should be hand tight. You can get it to that point without necessarily using tools, but looking at that, I think whoever oh, there we go, it is hand tight. It looked like they used some tools there, but it's not. So we have a little bit of water draining out, and we caught that in an awesome bucket. So now that you've removed that, if you look down there, there's a lock nut right on it, right there. Now we have to unscrew. There we go, okay. That wasn't too bad. If it is, try to use pliers, but go easy. It's plastic, you don't want to damage it. Well, you can, you're not going to use it anymore. The new assembly should come with one. So now that you've pulled the lock nut out, you should be able to come from the top and slide out the fill valve. Then the rest of the water is draining into, I say it again, that awesome makeshift bucket. So, water's drained out. There's the fill line, the fill tube. Pull out the old fill tube with the entire valve assembly. Right, and we can toss this in a trash bag somewhere. So that's the replacement I'm using, Fluidmaster 400A. Now this is what I could find. I get no endorsement or I get no royalties from Fluidmaster. It's what I found, this is what I've used, and it seemed to do the job for me in the past. So this is what I'm using here in this case, and it looks like this, which is a little different from the old assembly. Right? This one comes with this is the integrated float right here, and valve, and it comes with its own lock nut right there. It comes with a clip to hold it onto the overflow line. You could equally still use the existing one over there. Then it comes with its own fill tube. What we'll have to do is actually adjust the height of this. First we want to do is put it there. Based on the instructions, this top should sit about 3 inches higher than the top of that overflow line, which is not the case right now. So what you want to do is hold it here and hold it here and rotate to the left. You can see those grooves there, right? Again, hold here and here, turn to the left. I think that should be good. Yeah, that should be good. The next thing we're going to do is use the provided lock nut. I'll use the provided lock nut to secure the fill valve at the bottom. And for this, you probably don't need any tools. You can do most of this with your hands. So if you see down there, that's our new fill valve. Okay, I'm gonna need both hands, so at least start this. This lock nut has wings on it, so it's easier to grasp and tighten. So you wanna do it hand tight, but tight enough so that it doesn't leak. Okay. So I don't know if you can see it here, but at the bottom of this fill valve, there's a red gasket that came with it. So when you tighten that lock nut, it puts pressure on that gasket and it seals the bottom. So when water fills in here, you don't have any leak from here. So that's why you want to make sure that when you're doing this, that is tight enough. I think that's good. The next thing we're going to do is connect the fill tube. Let's connect this here. It's down there. Sorry. Right. So yeah, so it's a little lower. See if I can show you that connection. Yeah, connects it there. Next step would be to connect the fill tube to this and have that sit on the drain line, the overflow pipe. So we do that. There's already something you'll notice here. Right, if I slide this in place, I'll slide it and I'll show you. Alright, if you slide that in place, You notice that this is too long. So all we're going to do is we're going to cut this. Right? And when you're doing the installation, make sure you read what's on the manual. I'm going to use my utility knife here. You want to be careful not to cut too much. I'll mark that spot and I'll cut it. You're better off cutting less and adjusting later than cutting too much. So I'm going to reconnect. Get two gloves in there. Yeah, I think that should be good. That seals around here, so the lid seals around there, so that should be good. The only thing that's left for us to do now is to connect the water line at the base. Turn it on, make sure there are no leaks from the water line and from the gasket on the fill valve. Then we're going to adjust the water level in the bowl. We adjusted the 3 inches height here based on the length of the fill valve itself, but we can use this to do fine adjustments on the water level in the bowl once we're done. So now, coming here, something to check for. So you see that? There's a black rubber gasket in there. Make sure that's still in place before you screw it back. That's what prevents it from leaking. If that's not there, and you open that water line, you're gonna have a ton of water flowing into your bathroom floor, and you don't want that. So remember, hand tight should be good enough. This is plastic. You don't necessarily want to overdo it. Let's do a quick test. Make sure water is not draining out of there. No water, hands are still dry. It's feeling. So the last time it would not, water kept flowing and it did not stop even when it was all the way full. Ah, there we go. Now it stopped all the way, there's no hissing sound. So we know this is doing what it's supposed to do. All right, and if we check inside, should seize. Okay. Yeah, slowing down. So yeah. Let's check that. And it's still dry, so there's no water leaking out of there. This is doing what it's supposed to do. The water level here is a little lower than what it was before. You could leave it that way, save a little bit of water. Or if you rotate this clockwise, you see it's a plus and minus on how to adjust the water level. Turn it this way, you can add more water. So I turned it, let the water come on, and now it's stopped. I think we can leave it there. We don't necessarily want it to go all the way to the top. So this is your new float. Remember the old system had the huge ball extended out. This is the new float now. When you flush, it drops down. And as the water fills up, the float continues to rise until it gets to the stopping point and water stops the flow. So even the fill line, the fill tube, there's no more water going out of there, so that's all stopped. So the other thing you can do, if you notice that water is still leaking in the bowl, like I did just now, is if it's been so long since this was worked on, or since this was changed, if you lift, let's see if I can zoom in. If you lift, what you want to do is clean a little bit around the mouth of that fill valve, just to make sure that around the mouth of that drain, so you make sure when your flapper goes down, there's a good seal. You can see that it looks like there's a little debris around, so I'm going to try to clean that and we'll try it again. But we solved the problem of water not stopping because we couldn't adjust that old valve anymore, so we replaced it with a new one. I'll clean that out and we'll test it again. Alright, a little bit of cleaning around there. I'm going to open it up. Give it a moment to fill up and we'll see where we are. I'll correct the statement I made earlier. So when this is filling, and you notice water in the bowl, again, the water is that color because I cleaned in the bowl. When you notice water in the bowl, it's because right there as it fills, I'll try to zoom in, you see water flowing. Water is flowing into the overflow line, and that's the water that you see in the bowl during the filling process. Once it's done, there should be no more water in there because in theory, the weight of the water on the fill valve, the weight of the water on the flap should prevent any water in the tank from draining into the bowl. That's what keeps enough water in the reservoir. So after you do your business, you push on the handle and it takes everything away. Alright, this is stopped. Looking in there, yep. All we needed was a good cleaning in that around the flap. So once the dirt is off, the water slows down and stops. So I think we solved this one today. To recap, we came in, this would not stop filling, the water in the tank, or it just kept running. We adjusted the screws on there to allow, to decrease the water level at which the float shuts off the water flow. That did not happen. So we figured it was the fill valve. So we went ahead and bought a new fill valve. That was about 10 bucks. Bought the new fill valve, assembled everything, and we're done. We don't have any leaks in the water connection from there, so we call this a success. We'll close up everything and be done. Thanks again for watching this. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, and as I get the opportunity to do more repairs, I will take videos and post them. I only have so much at my house, so it just happened that this came up and I got a call from to come look at someone else's, so I did, and I made a video for it.